There she is.
Where's
I was going to wear my t-shirt.
Where's your t-shirt, mate?
I was going to wear it. Oh, I think it's in the wash. It's in the wash because I wear it all the time.
Of course you do. I mean, just repping. And if anyone wants to know, my code is CS Jodi. Links in the bio.
Oh God, it's going to be a shit show.
Of course.
I was going to troll you. I was going to wear it, but it's the first time it's been warm in my house all year. So I'm like, because it's not actually, it's very overcast in London.
I mean, it has been sunny, but since you joined this live, the sun
has come out. It's because you washed your hair for us. How long did that take?
Right? I even put some makeup on. You normally see what I look like. You know, I'm normally walking backwards round this very room.
So it's funny because yesterday was a day where I was just like sick of my own bullshit, like sick of moping around the house, stinking in the same complete strength t-shirt that I've been wearing for 3 days straight. And I put on normal clothes yesterday. I put on like just a jumpsuit. It's really loose. It was really chilled. Some makeup, dyed my hair. Just felt like myself again.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
for a hot minute.
I'm not going to lie. I don't really enjoy the whole makeup process. If I could live like a troll and that be socially accepted, I'd probably
20 minutes ago, I was in bed and I sent my best friend a picture. No makeup, no nothing. Yeah. I have showered just for you. But it was like, I've got to go live in 20 minutes.
I love it.
But it doesn't take long to slap on a bit of eyeliner.
Well, I don't know why my eyes are watering. I think like my body is rejecting makeup and being clean, and
it doesn't like being clean.
No,
I've actually just had a cookie dough for breakfast. Hashtag self-love.
Love that.
As my coach is like, so are we ready to get back on track? And I'm like, tomorrow, yeah.
For sure.
How's your week been?
Do you know what though, mate? I know we're going to talk about like mental health and stuff like that. So I'm going to
get straight in there.
Get straight in there. I've not had the best week. You know, I like to think that I'm a positive, optimistic person. But probably for the last week, I've definitely been feeling it. I think it's easy when you have a positive mindset sometimes to not put on a facade, because I wouldn't say that I'm a fake person, but when you have a positive mindset on things, even when things feel bad, you're always trying to see the positive in every situation, right? So it's easy to convince yourself sometimes that you're okay when maybe you're not. And this week I got to that point where I was like, I can't pretend that I'm okay anymore. And I had to just accept that I wasn't. And, you know, I've been quite emotional. I mean, these tears that are running down my face now are nothing to do with that.
Just cover it with some hair, you'll be fine.
I think I'm just allergic to makeup. I think that's what's going on here. But yeah, I had to just accept that I wasn't okay. I needed to turn to my friends for help. I needed some support. I needed to get the tears and emotion out and process why I was feeling that way, because, you know, none of us have ever been through lockdown before or anything like this, right? So it's fair to say that a lot of what we're feeling comes from a place of a lack of understanding at some point, because it's like, I feel this way, but I don't know why. Nothing's happened. I'm not really sure why. Yeah, for sure. So, you know, I've been doing a lot of digging deep into myself to try to understand what's been triggering me. And I think sometimes you have to be realistic. When you're feeling negative and you're in a certain headspace, there's normally going to be a reason. There's normally going to be something within you that's been triggered by the situation that you're in. Hi, Erin. To make you feel that way. So for me, a lot of it was social media based. You know,
really?
I love social media. Like, you know, I'm on here every day, very active, posting. But I found that I was All the compliments coming through. I love it.
Wait until some of our friends join.
I know. People don't need to know that.
They'll rinse us.
We'll pay you later. But yeah, I just for me, it was social media that was triggering me. It was a lot of, I feel like people are behaving a lot differently now. Because obviously we're all in this pressure of lockdown, right? Yeah. So we're all in this situation that's heightened how we respond, how we react, how we feel. And we're communicating that more on social media because we have more time to do that. We have more availability to do it. And we're more likely to do it because it's our communication and connection to the outside world, because we're in lockdown, right? So from my perspective, I've been seeing some out of character behaviours from people that I'm quite fragile when it comes to my trust. This is just me being honest and real with anyone that's watching. You know, I've been in situations in the past where I've been burned by people who maybe presented themselves as one thing to me when I first met them. And then the more comfortable they got with me, the more they turned into something else. So, you know, in my past, I've been in an abusive relationship where the guy was domestically violent towards me, physically, emotionally, sexually. And when I first met that guy, he was everything I thought I could have dreamed for and more, right? But then the more comfortable he got, the more he showed his true colours, and I ended up being in one of the worst situations I've ever been in my life, and I was stuck in that. So obviously when I got myself out of that situation, it made me very wary of people that maybe presented having a bit of a dual personality. Now it's something within me, obviously. It's something that I need to work on, because I also understand that the situation that we're in is going to make people act different. Do you know what I mean?
They don't even recognise themselves, you know.
I've certainly,
my own reaction to the lockdown, because we both live alone, right? So it's difficult kind of pressure to what some other people are finding. And I just thought I was fine. I'd be fine. And then the next day I'd be so low, you know, like just 2 days ago, I actually didn't even get out of bed. And while I was lying in bed, my boss was literally messaging me like, what are you doing? Like, where are you? What's up? Like, just give me a progress update. That was hanging over my head. And I knew I need to speak to my boss, right? I'm not delivering this project. This project is not difficult. I did it yesterday morning like that, you know, but for some reason I was just completely overwhelmed by it, laying in my bed all day, just and thinking, why do I feel like this? I've been through so much worse. I think that you and I definitely have the same kind of personal growth story, because I was also in an abusive relationship, you know, like my parents were abusive, even emotionally. And so all my life I've also had the same kind of wariness, and inconsistency in people really triggers me. Like, I just need people to be who they are. Like, if you're an arsehole, just be an arsehole. Wear your heart on your sleeve.
We like arseholes. Just be it. Own it.
If you're a fuckboy, give Jodi a DM. But do you know what I mean? Like, just be who you are and wear it proudly. And I have also really noticed that we're seeing parts of people that we've never been exposed to before, and possibly they've never been exposed to that part of themselves before. I think that everyone's struggling, you know.
This situation is trauma.
It is trauma.
You know what I mean? Like, I keep saying that lockdown for me isn't the most traumatic thing that I've been through, because of situations that we've been through before, right? But for some people, this right now is their trauma, right? This is the worst thing they will have ever been through. And we will know that when we went through our trauma with our abusive counterparts in the past, that brought behaviours out in us that weren't us, right? Because I look back at me, and that situation I was in with my ex made me paranoid. It made me insecure. It made me outwardly aggressive, and they're not behaviours that sit naturally with me.
No. I was used to just shoot people down straight away, you know, like I wouldn't let anyone close. I had a wall up all the time. Everyone thought I was an ice queen, which is so against who I actually am, you know, like I was such a softie actually. But we had an interesting chat didn't we, about saying how you can't test your loyalties during this period. Like, if people aren't checking in on you, they're not, you know, like on my birthday, some of my best friends didn't wish me happy birthday. And a part of me was like, what the fuck? Like, they don't care. But it's clear to me in their change of behavior that they are also struggling. Possibly don't even realize it yet, you know, because you just keep it moving, don't you? Just keep it going, Groundhog Day. And then we were saying you can't hold someone's loyalties to account, but you have to still have your boundaries for self-respect. And it's such a fine balance, isn't it, of being more patient than usual and compromising to a point, you know, flexing your boundaries, but there still needs to be that modicum of self-respect, you know. And it's like, I've found that really difficult, actually, myself, to deal with some of my friends and others, you know, that just aren't behaving in the way that they usually behave, which is making me react in a different way. I actually feel like I've become a lot more patient, and I need that. But there does come a point that it's like, is this your character? You know, like deep down. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad that you can't respond well during this time. I'm shocked that I've been so up and down, because as you said, we've both been through so much worse. And I remember back then just getting on with it, you know, like it was just part of daily life. It was what's happening, like, cool. And now I'm being asked to sit in the safety of my own home with my 2 little furry friends, all my food, all my stuff, you know, we've got amazing internet, we've got connection and technology to everybody. And yet for some reason, I still went under for a little while, you know. And just luckily for me, I think because I'm older and because I do have people around me like you, I'm very self-aware. So I know when I'm feeling down, I know why. You know, I was saying yesterday, I know it's so silly because I did a mindset chat with Beth yesterday, and I was saying how I've got period tracker on my phone for my monthly cycle.
I heard you say,
and I'm not joking, 2 days ago I didn't get out of bed. I felt so low, I felt so bad that I actually called the doctor yesterday to talk about it, you know. Like, it was just like, I can't enable myself like this, I can't just live like this. And then I get the notification on my phone, like, you know, you start in 2 days, and I'm like, oh
for sure.
But once I know that, and once I recognize that that's my trigger, I can deal with it emotionally, you know, and I can give myself some slack, and I can be kind to myself and be more patient with myself, and just check myself when I'm being reactive instead of proactive.
Well, I think this is the key, Martina, like, and we talk about it a lot, right? And I think that the difference in like a make or break mindset is whether you allow circumstances to control you or if you control your circumstances. So I think that, you know, when, say, both me and you are quite similar minded in this sense, but when we're going through something that's making us feel a certain way, we want to understand why. Because we know that understanding why is the key to moving past it. Right. So it's like, you know, when we have issues, we want to hoover that shit up, right? It's hoover it up and it's gone, right? Whereas a lot of people, I think, they have this mindset of, I feel this way and I just feel this way.
Do you know
what I mean?
Don't realise how transient it is.
So it's like, you know, it's, instead of trying to understand why, it's just a full acceptance of, I feel like this and I'm just going to feel like this until I don't feel like this anymore. Essentially brushing the dust under the carpet, so to speak.
There was like a meme that I saw, like a quote that was real turning point for me in my kind of personal development. And I think I was kind of a victim mentality all my life. Like, my life was so shit because my parents didn't look after me properly, you know, and all of these events that happened to me really do spur back to my childhood, you know. Like, if my parents had given me a safe place to live, I wouldn't have gone down certain avenues. And then the quote that really turned me from this kind of victim mentality into someone that is embracing what happened to me, recognize, you know, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't great, but I have to maximize the opportunity that it gives me to become the person I want to become and to develop the mindset I want to develop. And it was along the lines of, you are not what happened to you.
For sure.
You are how you react to what happened to you. And it's like, you and I could be sitting next to each other and something happens and we both have a completely different perception of what happened, you know, and we both interact with it in a different way. And I've really tried to be the person now that takes a step back and doesn't instantly be reactive,
Yeah.
and does look for the good in everything, you know, that honestly is in every single negative thing a positive, right?
Sure.
A learning point. You should always, I really think for myself, I don't punish myself for making mistakes now, but I try and learn from every mistake, because otherwise it's just a wasted experience.
For sure.
But yeah, that really changed things for me, from becoming this victim to realizing, do you know what, it's within my power now to lead the life that I want to lead, you know, like, yes, that happened, but I wouldn't be who I am, as corny as it is. You actually wouldn't be.
The thing is, it's true. Like all these cliche sayings that people come up with, like, you know, I remember before I went through that situation with my ex, I was a very negative, insecure, I was the complete opposite of who I am now. You know, if you were positive minded, as far as I was concerned, you were delusional. You know, we don't live in this Disney World land. Like, who are these people that believe in positivity? Like, I'm a realist,
I first started to brainwash myself into being positive, because I was a realist. Not a cynic. I was a realist. I was so cynical because I just hadn't had much positive stuff happen to me in my life. Probably because my mindset didn't recognize the opportunities that were there, you know. And
you've got to manifest it yourself. Do you know what I mean? It's two sides of the same coin. So it's like, you know, but two people can be in the same situation and each person will view it differently. Now, like, one of my favorite sayings is, what you focus on, you give power to. So, you know, if you are in a situation and you just want to see the negative of it, then that whole situation will just inevitably always seem negative. Whereas if you see the positive in it, then that situation will always inevitably seem positive, right? It's like life in general. People either have the woe is me, I hate life mindset.
It happens to me. I think that's the
why
mindset,
is it happening to me? What
Yeah.
did I do wrong? Or it's okay, that's not great, but what can I do to steer away from that? Or what can I do to learn from that? Or what can I do to change that? Or this was actually good about this situation. Like when I went through what I went through with my ex, you were talking with Beth yesterday about journaling and like gratitude diaries and stuff. And I had something similar as a technique when I was going through that, because obviously being stuck in a situation with, you know, someone who was abusive to me, I was always in a negative headspace.
Yeah.
You know, there's no positive when you're stuck in a situation like that. And you do have that victim mentality of why me? Why is this happening to me? What have I done wrong? Why am I upsetting him? But when I broke free of that situation and I was able to process my feelings, I didn't want to carry on feeling that way. I didn't want him to continue to have power over my emotions, because that was still giving him some element of control over me, even after the situation ended, right? So my friend actually got me into, if you want to call it a gratitude diary or journaling, where at the end of every day, I had a book by my bed and I would write in my book 3 positive things from my day, right? So it wasn't necessarily things I'm grateful for, but just positives, right? So that when I went to sleep on positive thoughts.
Same.
And then the next day I would generally wake up feeling positive. And they say it takes 60 days to create a habit, right? Now I just do it automatically. I don't have to write things down anymore. It's just the end of every day. I always go to bed thinking about what I felt good about in that day. And it just helps me to have a far more positive outlook on things.
I think I've actually been able to. So I went through the exact same process. I had this gratitude journal, and every day I'd write down 3 things. And they're not as big as people might think. I was saying yesterday, sometimes it'll be, I was walking down the street and it's a dreary London, you know, semi-detached houses. And I'd look up and somebody in the top window would have a window box with really like bright, vibrant flowers. And you wouldn't notice if you didn't look up. So I have this thing that I call Just Look Up. And it is take notice of your surroundings. So when I'm walking down the street, I don't use my phone. I used to. I can use my phone anytime. But when I'm walking around, I try and take notice of just pretty little things, you know. It really lifts my mood. And it's something so small that you can do on your daily commute, you know, your daily life. I'm just going to the shop. I mean, I don't live in a very pretty area of London, you know. There's no parks here. There's no flowers. It is concrete jungle. And yet I still find beauty in every day.
For sure.
And there's like certain things, I can remember walking down the road and it was so windy. And there was a blossom off of a tree just falling like rain. And that was just like a wow moment. Like, it was dreary, it was grey. I was in that shitty relationship that we were just talking about. So, you know, I wasn't in a great headspace. But I will always remember the way that made me feel, because it was just so stunning. And I did not stop and film it or take a picture, because I was just like, this is something I really need to like immortalize inside me.
Yeah,
because
sunset is like that. Yeah, sunset's like that for me. So it's like, you know, I have a positive connection to sunset. Like, I remember when I used to have my journal at the beginning, and I'd be like, well, what do I write that's positive about every day? Right?
Really had to search for 3 things, right? Especially if you hadn't done anything that day.
For sure. And I'd find myself looking out the window constantly, right? And that sounds weird. It's like end of the day, you look out the window, right? And it's like, then the sky is all beautiful from sunset. Hi, Midas.
He just wants, he's been, so this is the 3rd live that I've done, and he's been in every one.
So
he just wants to be a star.
Attention seeker. But no, like, it's, yeah, sunset is always just a beautiful time for me. I'd look out my window, I'd be like, you know what, like, if I'm struggling to find something, sunset is beautiful every day.
I find it very inspiring to look up and see a pink sky, you know, like, it always takes my breath away. Yeah.
But, you know, it's like what we're talking about now, it's finding coping mechanisms, you know, like, and I always say to people, sorry, there's a pigeon just right by my window.
Judging you.
Me.
It wants to poo in your hair, because it's literally like, she ain't never getting that out.
I don't do birds. Seagulls are the worst. Like, I can't. But it's outside the window, so it's fine. But yeah, I think it's in life, sometimes you have to find coping mechanisms to get through stuff, right? You know, competitors, we will know that. You know, sometimes you can't escape the struggle that you're experiencing, but you have to find a coping mechanism to get through it, right? This is going to sound really naff, right? But I'm going to
tell you a naff thing after.
In case it helps anyone, because I'm all about a coping mechanism, right? I put this up on my story the other day, and I was like, if you know, you know, right? And not many people will know, but for me, I suffer with a lot of anxiety and stress, right? And this situation is triggering my anxiety and my stress. And I live alone. I don't have pets, you know, I'm just completely isolated. And when I found myself getting stressed and anxious, I reverted into these, I want a cuddle feelings. You know, they're very youthful traits, you know, like when kids want comfort, they want a cuddle, they have things like comfort blankets and teddies and things like that, because of how that makes them feel. So cuddling is one of our it releases one of our happy hormones, which is oxytocin, right? And I couldn't deal with feeling sad anymore, and I was like, I just want to cuddle. So I went online and I bought a teddy, right? And it sounds really naff, right? I know it sounds naff, right?
No,
but for me, I was like, even just holding it, I felt like I could breathe. I was like, I felt relaxation because I connected to something.
I spent £100 on a weighted blanket a few days ago, but I'm going to tell you something. So I've had the weighted blanket for about 5 days now, and the first 2 days I actually felt okay emotionally, and I feel weightless under it, but I didn't find any comfort in it per se. Now the last 2 days I have struggled emotionally, and I would say the day before yesterday was probably the lowest day of the lockdown for me. And I got under this weighted blanket. I've been sleeping under it every night actually as well, and it honestly like envelopes you, and I needed it, you know, and it did what I needed it to do. And that day that I literally called the doctor yesterday morning at 10 to 7 in the morning, like, but I was wrapped up in this blanket, and I was literally like, it's worth the money, guys. If you want to get a weighted blanket, I can't tell you enough. Like, it was brilliant. Like, I was thinking about sending it back, because they all have 30-day guarantee, because they're actually quite expensive. It's £100 for a single blanket. But it's worth its weight in gold.
Well, I spent £13, mate.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, no matter how silly people think your coping mechanisms are, if it helps you in any way, even if it's a placebo in any way, you know, I spoke to the doctor and I did ask for some medication to help me just until the end of the lockdown and possibly a little bit after, because I think reintegrating back into our old lifestyles is going to be really difficult and overwhelming. And this whole time, oh God, as soon as I spoke to the doctor and she agreed that, yes, she was going to give me some medication, she was going to help me through, like, and gave me some tips on helping myself too. Hi, everybody. He wants to be on my lap. It was like the placebo of actually taking some action and the relief of admitting that I don't feel okay at the moment. I had a great day yesterday and I was productive for the first time in ages. You know, I did some work for my boss, which finally was like, and actually at the end of the day, so in the morning, I sent him an email telling him how I feel. And it's quite a big thing for me to admit that I'm not okay. You know, I'm very proud. I'm a very strong person. And as we said before, we've been through so much worse emotionally before that I was embarrassed to say, I'm struggling sitting at home on my own. And it sounds so silly, but it's like we're pack animals, aren't we? And I miss the intimacy of human relationships. It's not really that you know, we can talk on here all the time. It's just not quite the same as being in someone's presence.
No, I agree.
But just the act of me admitting that I need help, telling my boss how I feel, getting it out there, I just felt 100 times better. And by the time I did take the medication last night, I was thinking, do I really need this? But I know that at the moment it's such a roller coaster and it's so uncertain.
It's difficult because we live in a society at the moment where you're almost judged for communicating, I say, weak feelings, right? I don't believe that way. I don't feel personally that telling someone that you're anxious, stressed, depressed is weak, right?
So my ex-boyfriend, the emotionally abusive one, he used to say to me how weak of me it is to tell, because I'm very open about my anxiety on my stories. I talk about it when I feel it. And I always get messages from people, it resonates, and you know what, if it can help one person, good. It's also a form of therapy for me to just admit it. I feel stronger afterwards. And he messaged me, so we were together like maybe 3 years ago, and at the time he would say how weak it is for me to put it on social media. And then actually a couple of weeks ago I did another chat and I said that I wasn't feeling great, and my birthday was coming up. I had made it into this big thing in my mind. He took it upon himself to message me and tell me how weak I am and I shouldn't be talking about it. It's not got any value or benefit to me. People are leeching off of me to like feel better about themselves. And I'm so done with it, right? And I just thought admitting that you need help is actually the strongest thing that you can do. Trying to deal with it on your own, you know, we are meant to work together. We're meant to come together, and there's going to be people that can see objectively some things that you might be able to change or to help, or they can alter your opinion or just make you feel better by not talking about it necessarily, you know. But I don't think it's weak to talk about it. I think that especially now it's become such a huge topic in bodybuilding circles, especially. Depression and mood disorders go hand in hand with bodybuilding, right? It's often the reason that a lot of us started training, which then leads to competing.
I've seen this a lot recently, you know, and I agree, but I think that the whole mental health issue is a wider thing. You know, I think it's just general. It's just that bodybuilding gives people an outlet. And that's why you tend to find that it's quite concentrated in bodybuilding, that people will share a commonality with regards to suffering with mental health, because they'll use the gym to process their anxiety, process their stress, process their depression. But I think it is just a wider problem. It's just that people don't talk about it, or they don't understand what they need to do to relieve what they're feeling. It's sad reality, really, but I think it takes real strength and character to be able to admit how you're genuinely feeling, and to be able to search within your soul, to be able to try and rectify that, and to take active steps to move towards improving that. You know, it's every everything we experience is an opportunity to learn from, and to put better measures in place to make sure that you don't keep repeating the same scenario over and over again. Like,
I feel like the negative things that I've gone through have created positive boundaries, and because they teach you how you don't want to live and how you don't want to be treated and what's not within your comfort zone. If you are the kind of person that can learn from everything, you know, you're just going to carry on growing, and you're going to become happier and happier, you know, and it's going to affect the people around you as well. Like, some of them, when I admit that I don't feel very good, and especially if I've got anxiety, you can't tell, because it's not a kind of, it doesn't affect your mood in that way, you know. You're actually more wired, so you're more on the go, so you're probably trying to achieve more, because you're just like, and it just winds up faster and faster and faster and faster until it fucking snaps, right?
I
feel like with my anxiety in particular, people never can tell. And it does make me act differently. As you were saying, like, the trauma that is making of lockdown is making people behave differently. My anxiety makes me behave differently as well. Or like, if I don't tell people, if I'm not strong enough to just help them understand who and why I'm the way I am, it's not giving them a chance to give me a chance, you know, sometimes. Like,
I think people expect others to be mind readers sometimes,
like,
you know, because you're feeling a certain way, if you're feeling negative or down, because you're feeling it, you feel like people should know that that's how you're feeling, because there's a significant difference in how you're feeling, therefore you feel like you're actually being different. But I think the reality is that you're the only person that's experiencing that change. Unless you communicate outwardly how you're feeling, people can't work to help you. But then I also feel at the same time that people shouldn't be pressured to communicate how they feel, because for me, for example, I'm a reflector, and I'm a processor. So when I'm feeling something, I think my mood shift will be quite obviously different. So, you know, I'm quite energetic, Larry kind of person, I guess. So when I'm not in that mind space, I get quite withdrawn and quite quiet, and anyone that knows me will be like, are you okay? And I am the type of person that likes to talk about my feelings, but I also need to have got past how I'm feeling and had to think about how I'm feeling to be able to talk about it. Otherwise it's just an emotional mess.
I like that Beth said yesterday that for her, journaling was just kind of trying to help herself understand what her thought process is. What does it mean? Like, because sometimes, I know I've done it to you, just phone you sometimes and I'm just like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, sorry, I haven't actually verbalized this yet. So I haven't kind of sorted it into my mind of what it actually is that I'm experiencing. It's just like, these are all the facts. This is how I feel. And then we kind of work it out together, right? And even sometimes just saying it, you get the light bulb moment that you're like, oh, right, that's what's going on. And I think if you don't want to speak to someone about it, journaling's the ideal way if you've got time, right? I actually don't write because it takes too long. You get that bump in your finger from holding a pen these days.
Anymore.
No, you just type, right? But it can be, you can talk out loud to yourself in bed, right? Like, you can write on the computer, you can delete the email afterwards. You don't have to keep it, but it's just getting it out. I have this thing at the end of the day I do, it's so silly, but I've got insomnia and I'm an overthinker. So it's just like going around, things are whirring, and I lay down and I just imagine, I don't know what it is, a square arena or pitch or something, and all those jumbly things are in the middle, and I literally just push it all out to the side until it is empty. And for some reason it works, and I can't remember, I've been doing it for years, just pushing out the thoughts, I suppose, just pushing them away. Sometimes I don't deal with them, so that's not the healthiest, but a lot of the time, I mean, especially as you get older, you don't sweat the small stuff as much, right? So the things that might have worried me in my 20s are not worrying me in my 30s, you know, and I'm looking forward to my 40s, which is only around the corner. But
you're a bit closer than me, mate.
Anyway,
I have to rip you at least once. Come on.
I just feel like every year I get happier and happier, and it's not like anything better is happening to me every year. Although, to be honest, I've become quite a goal getter because of my mindset of improvement. That I do go for the things that I don't think I'm ready for. I mean, the job I'm in, I'm not qualified to do, actually. You're meant to have been to university and have all this crap. I have the experience that's transferable. So just went for it. And then lo and behold, I've been doing this job for 2 years now. I've spent 15 years doing a job I hated. But the plus from that side is it gave me the skills to get this job that I'm not qualified for, that I can now do really, really well, you know, because of that arduous task of doing something that I didn't enjoy that much. But if I had this mindset now, I wouldn't have done that job for 15 years. You know, I wouldn't have tolerated it. I would have realized that it's within my power to change and to improve. And even if it meant, I always thought, oh, you shouldn't, like, what's the point of going to university now? I'm going to have to sit my A levels first. Yeah. That's like, say, 5 years of studies. But I've been thinking this since I was 25. I'm 38. Like, if I just started at 25, doing it in the evenings, at 30, I could have changed my job, not 36, you know?
Yeah.
And I've really wasted a lot of time just not knowing and realizing that you should just go for it. And it is scary, and you might get rejected, and you have to be the kind of person that can just receive constructive feedback, you know? You have got a good hairstyle, Rakesh says.
I'll take that. I think that a lot of, if I think back to my 20s versus now, I think a lot of what's different for me is what I define success to be now.
Yes.
So when I was in my 20s, it was all about making as much money as I could, having the nicest
things,
and the car
right?
and the house. It didn't really matter if I was doing something that I loved, as long as I had all of those things that made me look successful. Whereas now, these days, my definition of success is around how I feel. Yeah. So am I happy? Am I content? Am I secure?
Mm-hmm.
You know, these are all things now in my 30s that matter more to me. And because of that, I take more risks. You know, I'm more likely to do something that may pay off in me being happy.
Yeah.
Whereas in my 20s, it was I'm just going to stick to this rigid process.
Just
of,
in case. I'm
doing this job, and then I'll, you know, because I can't take a risk of doing anything different in case that makes me go backwards.
Yeah.
Now I'm not in that same mind space anymore.
Yeah.
And I think it is just, you know, really just setting out what is your definition of success, and is it really all the lavish things? Because are those lavish things making you happy? Because I was miserable in my 20s.
Yeah,
you know,
too.
I turned to my 30s and I was like, okay, well, none of that really matters anymore. Like, as long as I've got enough money to have a roof over my head and to do the things that make me happy, that is success.
It's funny because I think so many people have different definition of success, right? And I very recently was told by someone very close to me that I was unsuccessful because I'm not married and I don't have kids and I'm 38. And it's like, I reel off my version of successes, you know, the things that I think makes me successful and happy. And it's like, we have such different, that's the societal view, right? Like, yeah, sure, everyone wants to be in a stable relationship, right? Some people do want kids, some people don't. Like, are the people that don't have kids not successful? Like, if they are happy and if they're servicing their relationships and making other people happy, I've, you know, in my career I've done really well, in my hobby I do well. Like, why am I not successful? You know, like, don't get me wrong, there's always things that I'm shooting for and there's always things to improve. I'm not perfect as a person either, and I'm always wanting to be better, but I'm still very content with where I am now. And it was something that I had to learn, to be content, but you can still be ambitious at the same time. You really do need to take stock of where you are and enjoy it, because you only ever have now.
You know what I mean? It's like that is gratitude. That's the
now is life, right?
Live in the now while striving for more. Do you know what I mean? It's like, just because you're not where you want to be doesn't mean you're unsuccessful right now.
No.
Right? If you're happy and you're content right now, that's success, but you can still strive for more. You know, I think people think sometimes that they're failing at life right now because they're not where they want to be, but you're not dead yet. Like, you've got plenty of time to go and achieve that stuff.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are too worried about what other people will think of them.
Sure.
I am a prime example. So these lives, I've got imposter syndrome anyway about being a competitor, because I still just feel like this skinny kid that grew up in Croydon, you know, like literally big teeth, big glasses. People used to call me olive oil at school, or knickknacks, because my legs look like knickknacks. I was an ugly duckling, I can tell you. But so yeah, this like being physically fit and having these like commendations for the work that I've done to be athletic, I just can't correlate it. So I'm thinking I wanted to do these lives, but I was worried what other people would think. They would think like, who does she think she is, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, do you know what? I'm surrounded by all these incredible women that have a lot to give and a lot to share. And it would be criminal to not give them the avenue to do that, you know. And I get to chat to my friends for an hour every day. And it's really, I have so many messages of like people saying, thank you so much for doing it. It's broken up the lockdown for me, you know, like, but yeah, I'm sure there's some people that are like, what? But I just have to bite the bullet and just think, fuck it. More people will embrace what I'm trying to do here, and more people will enjoy what we are doing than will judge me detrimentally. And to be honest, those people don't matter, right? And that was another big learning curve for my mental health, was only care about the people you care about, their opinion. And even then, with a pinch of salt, right? Because they don't have to live your life. But then I don't surround myself with people that would be very judgmental in a negative fashion. The only time my friends would ever really impress their opinion on me is if they thought I was harming myself.
For sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And the same as me. And I might give you advice, but if you don't take it, it's your funeral. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I'm going to be here to pick up the pieces when it all blows up. And it's obviously usually because you're with the wrong guy, because we don't really do anything crazy, right?
Yeah.
We're not shoplifting on a weekend. But yeah, I think that for me, like, I truly don't care what and how, what my friends do, how they live their life. As long as they're happy and they're a good friend to me and they're not an arsehole to everyone else, you know, and they have respect and love, then
I
do what makes you happy, right?
I always say, you know, no judgment from me. Do what you've got to do that makes you happy, as long as you're not going out of your way to hurt yourself or anyone else.
Others,
right? Like, because we all have a different viewpoint on what makes us happy. We all have a different viewpoint on what is acceptable. Now, I will hear anybody out, right? Yeah. If anybody has an opinion on something, regardless of whether I care about them or not, someone may have a valid point about something. But whether or not I take on board what they have to say sits with me. Yeah. Right? So it's like, it's about listening to what people have to say, taking it on board constructively, but not personally.
Yeah.
Because just because one person thinks something doesn't make it fact. Yeah. It's just an opinion. And I think people take other people's opinions way too hard.
I think the ego is a very destructive thing, and you really do need to try and harness your own ego. And it takes years. It comes with age, to be honest, even if you're not actively trying to change things. I think as you get older, you do just mellow and you soften and you realize what's important, and your priorities are quite clear. You know who you are. You've usually, hopefully, surrounded with the best group of people, you know. And I think that ego can kill everything if you can't get it under control. And to be able to take constructive feedback, or to be able to say, do you know what, I was wrong, or okay, this is a more negative part, this is one of my quirks that I should probably work on. But it is, you have to conquer your ego in order to do the self-improvement.
The only person it impacts negatively is you. Do you know what I mean? Because you're stunting your own opportunity to develop and to grow. So that's what I always say, just hear out what anyone has to say. You don't have to feel anything about it. Do you know what I mean? Like, someone could come up to me and have all manner of abuse to say to me, right?
I'm going to give you some after this call, don't worry.
I look forward to it. But it only has as much power as you give it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
they are, at the end of the day, just words. They're someone else's thoughts, and they only have as much power as you allow them to have. So it is hard. Don't get me wrong. Like, if you'd have been having this conversation with me in my early 20s, I would have been like, no, I feel what I feel, and they can't say that to me, and that person should behave like this. Whereas now I'm like,
I don't even recognise that person I used to be, you know. I'm quite ashamed of her, to be honest, because she was crazy.
But she wouldn't have you without
She didn't want to help herself,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so I actually am divorced, and I've kept my married name because my maiden name, that person is a character in my life, and it's not someone that I relate to anymore. And although it's just your surname, especially once you've changed your surname once, you'll realise you don't have an attachment to it. I just felt like it was regression to go back.
Yeah.
And I just want to keep moving forward. And I think it is important to look back to see how far you've come. I think some people don't give themselves enough credit for just how much work they have done without even realising, you know, how much stronger or more confident, how much more peaceful. For me, I've just got a sense of peace now that I never had when I was younger. And it was unsettling for people just how driven and how ferociously ambitious I was. But it's because I was running away from my past.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of my successes actually have been fueled by negative situations or experiences. And it was a kind of like, fuck you, I need to prove myself. I need to show you that I'm worth it kind of thing. Whereas now, my motivation to succeed is not to make anyone else proud of me. It's to make me proud of myself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I can live an authentic life to myself that really represents who I am and how I want to be, my friends will be proud of me. You know, they'll be happy. They'll love to see me thrive, and it might inspire them to do the same and live the same way, whatever their goals are. You know, we all have different goals.
Yeah, certainly. But you know, I'm as well I'm a bit spiritual. You know, I
find it actually key to peace is to be a bit spiritual, and you have to believe in a little bit of magic, and you know.
I always say that the universe will keep sending you the same lessons until you learn what you need to do to move past it, right? Yeah. It's like a computer game. I was saying to my friend Emma the other day, it's like, if you keep approaching the same level, you're going to keep making the same mistakes at the same point, and you'll never get past it, right? Yeah. Whereas when you figure out what you need to do to conquer that part of the computer game, you can move on to the next level, right?
Yeah.
I sort of see that as being the same way in life. Like, you know, you see the typical example all the time of people in relationships. They're like, oh, I'm a good person. Why do I keep getting sent bad people? Like, why do I keep meeting bad people? And it's like, it's because these people are your tests, and you haven't learned what you needed to learn to stop these kinds of people from
to create your next barrier, right? Mm-hmm. Your boundary. Your boundary.
So, you know, I think a lot of what we're saying rests on the fact that we have more control over our life, how we see things, our happiness, than what most people realise. And if people worked more actively to try to steer themselves towards what makes them happy, then they may feel that life maybe isn't as bad as what it seems sometimes. And I think that's definitely a lesson I've learned. It's not the easiest, but it's certainly something that's helping me move forward. I mean, I don't know if you had any questions and stuff asked at all that we need to cover.
We've covered it while we've been talking, actually, to be honest.
I know that one person asked in the comments below, like, how long ago my relationship was, my bad relationship, and it was 5 years ago. And I'd probably say that it took me a good couple of years to process what I was feeling from that situation before I could start making mindset changes to move me forward.
How did you start on your journey of like improving your mindset and becoming more positive? Like, what were the like key things that really made a difference? Because for me, I had to brainwash myself, if I'm honest. You know how you said about the gratitude journal? I would like try and say these positive things, and I followed the hashtags on here. I was talking about it yesterday, like positivity, inner peace, self-love, inner growth, all these arty-farty ones. But it really has helped me because, you know, what you are digesting every day from the news, from the social media, from your friends, your colleagues, that's your life, right? And that's your mindset. And it really helped me to just be inundated with all these positive messages that brainwashed me into feeling the same way and finding value and resonating with those words. Because at first I was like, what a crock of shit.
Yeah.
You know, like, this isn't real life. And then in the end, I'm like, I feel so grateful that I was able to embrace that, a different way of thinking.
Sure.
And it doesn't mean that what I was thinking before was wrong.
No.
I've just evolved into a happier, more positive person. And you know what? Sometimes maybe my blinkers are on, but they're not important things that if I don't notice the reality that, you know, I just think you do have to believe in a little bit of magic. I know, like, it was the full moon yesterday, and on the full moon, I always do kind of let go. At first, we used to write this list of the things that we want to purge. So it could be obviously hang-ups or quirks or emotions, things that you just want to get rid of internally, and burn the piece of paper on the new moon. Now, I just do it mentally instead of the gratitude thing. I just sit there and I think about, okay, what do I want to change? What do I want to get rid of? What's not good enough? Like, what's holding me back? And I kind of just release it. And I know it's artsy-fartsy to do it on a new moon, but it's just a nice touch point for me that brings me back to myself. And it happens, you know, however frequently. And yeah, it's just a nice exercise for me for a bit of self-reflection and a release. To then day one, today is day one. Honestly, I feel so motivated to smash the day and to tick my boxes.
It's like when people they go to the gym on the 1st of January because they want to try, you know, they want to transform themselves. And I know a lot of people will give people stick over that because people are like, oh, you know, you don't have to wait until a certain date to transform your life, right? And I agree with that. But at the same time, if that's motivating them, if that's what gives them their start point, then good on them for starting.
I respect anyone that's trying, you know,
for sure.
And the people that I don't respect are the victims that they do know they could change it, but they love to wallow. Some people do love to be a martyr, and sadly, you just, if that's not how you want to live your life, you can't have them in your life in a close capacity, you know. And it is sad. I have had to say goodbye to some quite key people. I did a big, I know this sounds so brutal, but I did a cull all at once. I had a breakdown, like, after that relationship. I was in the worst place ever. And I just thought, these people are enabling me, or, you know, they're affecting, they live the way that I was living at the time, which was to be a martyr, to be negative, to be cynical, to find the bad in everything. It was their go-to. And I just distanced myself. I stopped messaging them. And lo and behold, as I grew as a person and as my belief system changed, they couldn't relate to me anyway, you know. So we would have outgrown each other. But I really did feel like taking a step back from those people. And I dearly loved some of them, you know. I've been friends with them, some of them, for a very long time. But it was the mature thing and the right thing for me to do to get my mind back to a healthy place. Yeah.
Well, you sort of asked how I started my journey, and being honest, I was kind of forced. And I know that sounds like a weird thing to say, but when I went through what I did with my ex, the situation ended with me and him because I went to the police about what he was doing to me. So he was removed from my life, and it then exposed some of the people in my circle for not maybe having the same values and morals that I would expect, you know. So those people that I expected to maybe give statements to the police about what he'd done to me weren't interested in helping me. They weren't interested in being involved. And that was my first wake-up call to, you can have people close to you, but when the shit really hits the fan, are they really going to have your back?
Yeah.
And it isolated me for a long time, where I thought I couldn't trust people. And then I realised it wasn't people I couldn't trust, it was my judgment I couldn't trust. And so then I had to rebuild myself. I had to rebuild and understand what I was looking for in terms of companionship, friendship, you know, the values that I wanted to have. And it was funny because when I started rebuilding it in myself, I started attracting those people.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I firmly believe that, you know, if you've got a lot of people around you who are toxic, the kind of people that you want to draw to you will keep away, because they're like, oh, well, that girl hangs around with lots of toxic people. So, you know, is she one of them?
Yeah.
And I don't want to surround myself with that kind of person, so I'm not going to get involved here. Whereas if you clear yourself of the people who are not reflective of you, are not reflective of your values and morals and what you stand for. You clear the path and make way for people who are more like-minded to enter your circle. And that's essentially what happened. So something unfortunate happened to me. It forced me to take a look at myself, and then it ended up with me being surrounded by what I couldn't say now, a better group of friends. I have people now that I know that I can rely on at any point. I don't have to question if they'll be there or not. I know they'll be there in a heartbeat, and that makes me happy. That makes me feel successful. It makes me feel content. So sometimes it is just about evaluating whether your environment is reflective of you, because, I guess getting all quotey and that, a flower can't bloom in the right environment, right? So if you're surrounded by toxicity, then you never give yourself full chance to bloom into the person that you're destined to be. So yeah, my situation was kind of by force, but I always say that my situation was a blessing in disguise, because I wouldn't be the person that I am now if I hadn't gone through that. So
I just used all of my angst and hurt and all the disappointment and the shame, and I used it to fuel me, to propel me forward into a life that I never really dreamed I could have. This life that I have, I come from a very different background, certainly not anyone else in my family before me that has lived as true to themselves, I think, because we're very stuck in this is how we grow up, this is what you are, just make do kind of thing. And I was like, no, I want more. And I knew from a really young age I just wanted more, and my sisters have followed suit, and now my little cousin and my auntie, it really does affect the people around you and show them and inspire them that you can live a different way. You can make yourself happy, and it's not easy, and it can be painful, and sometimes you're going to have to do stuff you don't want to do, but in the best interests of yourself and your loved ones. But it will pay off, in the end. I think for me, it took 36 years of struggle to all of a sudden have the most incredible year of my life. I changed my career. I had a lovely home. I won all my shows that year, which was great. Just everything positive was stacking up, and it was like, wow, 2018, how am I going to replicate that in 2019? And it was a flat year, because I was just like, I did everything last year, but it's like, no, you've got so much more that you can work on that are not so material as winning a show, or getting a new job. There's smaller things, for example, me being more patient. That's an important thing that I need to work on. I need to be more patient. And so it's those things now that I will be successful at, because I'm working towards.
Well,
and then just
test that level, it will elevate your life. It's tick the boxes, and then you'll keep moving on to the next elevation of where you're at. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to have the best year of your life every year.
No. But I choose the other years as their building block years. So they are building me towards having another exceptional year. It's like having an off season from bodybuilding. That is your improvement season, as corny as people say it. It is where you do the work that wins you the trophies. And the same for everything, right? Sometimes you just need to walk before you can run. And then you will get to the finish line if you just keep on.
For sure. I couldn't agree more. I think people think that if they have a good point and then things take a dip, that means they're going in the wrong direction, but that's not true. Life isn't linear. It will go up and down. It's just about knowing when it's down, knowing that it's transient and it will change. We've only got 1 minute left in case it cuts off. It's flown by. We can talk for hours. We do talk for hours.
But I think that just embrace where you are now, right? And know it is within your power to change it. And it will change for the better. And it might not be the version of the future that you thought it was going to be, but it can be just as good or even better.
For sure. Yeah, I couldn't have put it better, to be fair.
Well, Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm just going to phone you straight after and carry on the conversation.
I look forward to it. And
thank you for watching, guys. Oh, for God's sake.
For discount. Link is in the bio.
Goodbye, Jodi. Bye, guys.